Hey, my name is Carson Ensley, and this is my client, Brandon, and I'm going to be using the Adlerian theory during this role play. Okay, so hey, Brandon, my name is Carson. I'm going to be your counselor today. I'm really happy you're here. Glad to see you.
Good to be here.
Um, good. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed right now.
Okay, so you're feeling pretty overwhelmed. I'd love to hear more about that and kind of get into more about what's bothering you. But first thing I want to ask is, have you ever been to counseling before?
I have not, no.
Okay, awesome. So first, I just commend you for coming here and taking the first step because I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to try something new and come into counseling. So that's awesome. I'm really happy you're here. And if you've never been to therapy before, I'm assuming that you don't know about like the limits of confidentiality. Is that right?
I do not know.
Okay, awesome. So I want you to know that everything you say in here is confidential, and I want you to feel like this is a safe space. You're free to talk about whatever you need to talk about, get stuff off your chest. But with the limits of confidentiality, there are three different areas where I would have to tell someone, and I'll go over those with you. So the first is if you disclose that you are going to be an immediate harm to yourself or someone else. The second is if you told me that you were being abused or if someone else was being abused. And then the third is if I was subpoenaed by a judge or a court. Are those clear?
Very.
Okay, awesome. And of course, if like one of those situations did present themselves, I would talk to you about it as best as I could and let you know what was going on and the route that I was going to have to take to disclose that information. But I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
hmm So you're telling me you feel overwhelmed. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on?
Well, I'm working a lot of hours and I feel like as soon as I come home, I'm at like a second job.
Mhm.
S- So my family makes me, we have a chore list and everybody's chore list is this small. Mine is over here is like this big.
Okay.
So I feel like when I get home, I don't even get to go to sleep until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
My goodness, I'm sure that's exhausting.
Very, because I gotta get up at work at 6, and when I come home, I do all my chores and then I do homework because I'm trying to get my master's right now.
Wow. So you have a lot on your plate between work, coming home and doing chores, and also doing a master's degree. That sounds like it's a lot.
It is. I feel like I'm wearing myself very thin. 45-hour work days for work, coming home, doing all this, and trying to do school. My grades are starting to tank a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds very overwhelming. Well, first thing I want to say is that that's awesome. It sounds to me already that you're a hard worker and you sound pretty goal oriented with all that stuff. So I just want to say that I recognize that as a strength already. You're very determined and hardworking. But like you said, I'm sure that could be very overwhelming. So I want to go back to something you mentioned. I know you said you feel like your chores, the other people in your house's chores are like this and yours are like this. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that?
When I get home, I'm the middle child, so I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Mhm.
And my parents aren't home yet for a good while. They don't come home till later at night, around 9 o'clock, because they work, and so they don't do any chores. It's all us on us as kids. And my younger sister, she's a little too young to have to do everything, but my older brother should be able to do more things, or at least take half of what I'm trying to do.
Mhm. So your parents don't really do any of the housework because they're at work, and then your younger sister's a little too young, and you feel like your older brother doesn't do near enough as what he should. It all kind of falls on you.
Yes, like my little sister, she'll like dust the tables, make sure everything's out of the floor before like I go around and sweep and vacuum and mop everything.
Mhm.
My older brother, he just I don't even know what he does. Sit around and watch videos all day long.
Okay, so your older brother's really not helping you. You're the one that's primarily doing most of the cleaning, and you're working on top of that. Does your brother have a job? Like, is he putting his time into other things too?
He does not. He puts his time into video games.
Okay. So I can see how that's pretty frustrating. You've got all this stuff going on, and then it seems like your brother doesn't hold his weight and he's just playing video games. So you mentioned you're the middle child. I know a lot of the times in like birth order and families, the middle child can almost feel like they're not, I don't want to say like they're not as special, or it can be a little bit discouraging because it's like the oldest child kind of has the spotlight on them, or their way they were there first, and then the youngest, of course, a lot of times they're spoiled or kind of get their way. So sometimes the middle child can kind of feel like they're not that special or overlooked. Do you kind of feel like that resonates with you?
I really do. I feel like my brother is, I wouldn't say babied because my sister's babied. She's the little queen.
Yeah.
But my brother, he just, I don't know, I guess they call him the test subject. So he was the test run for me and my little sister. They're
Yeah.
trying to make everything right with us. And I guess everything was wrong with him because, like I said, he does not do much of anything.
Yeah, I can sense you're a little bit frustrated with your brother, and with all the stuff you have on your plate, that seems really valid. But so can you tell me a little bit? So in your household, it's your sister, your brother, you, and then is it your mom and dad that you live with?
Yes,
Okay. So what are some of your like? What's one of your earliest memories, like a happy memory in your household or with your family?
that's a hard one. It's been so long.
I know
I
it can be
guess
hard to think about that, like think back on this stuff.
mm, and I hate to say it because I really think my happy, the last time I was really happy was before my sister was born
Hmm.
because I was the baby then and I was getting some attention, at least some attention.
Yeah.
After she was born, it really it went downhill really quick.
Yeah. So you've like, even though you can't recall a specific one, you know that some of your happiest memories were when you were the youngest and you felt like you had more attention and maybe you were seen a little bit more and heard a little bit more.
Yes, I think the happiest memory I can remember is me having like on my birthday
Hmm.
because I don't even get birthday presents anymore. It's just my two siblings.
Yeah.
I maybe
I can
get
see
like
that.
some clothes or shoes, but they usually get something they really want.
Hmm. Yeah. So you feel like you're treated a little bit different than your siblings are.
Yes, I'm very appreciative of the clothes and everything because I am working. I need some work clothes, but I'd like to have something for fun. I like to have time for fun. That's what I really want. I want to have time for fun.
Yeah. It sounds like you don't really have time to do anything you enjoy between all of your responsibilities. That doesn't leave much time for you time to kind of enjoy things that you would like to enjoy.
Hmm.
So, what is one of your unhappy? Can you think of like an unhappy memory from childhood, like something that really sticks out?
What really made me like really upset was about a month ago. I came home. We had no Wi-Fi. We haven't had Wi-Fi for that time for about a week, and I'd come home and the house would just be a wreck because my older brother he had nothing to do, so he just kind of lounge around, eat, throw wrappers everywhere.
Yeah,
I kind of broke down. I was like, you can need to clean the house. I mean, you're sitting here all day alone. You can do something because
yeah.
he's already out of school. He doesn't have a job. He's not even looking for a job. Like, you can do something, please, so I don't have to come home and stress about it. And I told him this, but he just looked at me and said, I don't care. Not my problem.
So that conversation really didn't get you anywhere, and or get him thinking or make any changes.
Mhm. Yeah, I did
Okay.
not make any changes whatsoever. I feel like it actually kind of made it worse. I feel like the day, the next day I came back and the house was like 10 times worse. Mm.
Yeah.
For the things I have on my chore list. Like I told you, I sweep, clean, everything. The only thing he does is take the trash to the road.
Well, it sounds like there's a little bit of an imbalance between chores and responsibilities at your house. So
Mm.
I know you mentioned earlier, just going back to this, you said that you feel like your grades are starting to slip in your master's program because you've got so much on your plate. Um, I'm wanting to try. This is a technique. It's an ad layering technique, and it's called acting as if. because I know you said you tried talking to your brother about it and telling him what to do, and that didn't really help. So with this technique, I want you to come up with, and you can think on it for a minute, two or three. If you can come up with three, great. But if it's just two, that's fine. I want you to come up with like two behaviors that you could do that could help you get your family to realize or help get some stuff off your plate. Okay. So I want you to act as if these things would work for you. And it's just almost like an experiment. Like you'll tell me what the first thing is and we'll kind of talk through it. And then same thing for the other one or two that you mentioned. And we're just going to see like which one would you be most likely to follow through with and see if we can kind of make a plan for you to put that into action. Because it sounds like you just may need some help kind of telling your family or getting them to realize this, maybe setting some boundaries. So just take a minute to think about like two or three behaviors, two things you could try with your family to get them to realize you're very overwhelmed, you have a lot on your plate, and like how could you knock some of these responsibilities off or maybe delegate some of these tasks to other people in your household.
This is a hard question.
I
I
know.
guess one behavior would quitting uh all my chores be one of them. I just stop doing some of my chores, let them see how much it is on me.
Okay. So stop doing all your chores. No, that's a really good one because you're overwhelmed. So let's look at that. You say you could stop doing all your chores. Is that something that you could do? Like, how would your parents react to that?
Horrible. I feel like they would come in and yell at me, have a sit down with me, tell me, I don't know, just bash at me, tell me I'm
Yeah.
not doing my job or whatever.
Okay. So that
But
sounds like that one might not be very like um ideal because you might not follow through with that one. It sounds like, you care about a lot about you obviously care a lot about your parents and their household because you've been putting up with this for years. So it sounds like you probably wouldn't follow through on that one just because you do have a lot of responsibility, you care about the house. So what's
mhm.
something else that maybe you could try doing?
I've thought about sitting down and having a talk with them. I feel like they would listen,
Mhm.
but I feel like I wouldn't say my sister would try to flip it on me, just my brother. Or my
Okay.
sister may not like it because she may have one or two more things added. But I feel like if I had to sit down and talk, they would add a bunch to my brother. And I feel like he'd make my life miserable. But I think maybe he would finally see how much I'm dealing with.
Okay. So you feel like having a conversation with your parents present and your little sister and your brother would be more beneficial than the conversation you had with just your brother.
Yes, I feel like they would listen more.
Okay. So that's a good one. Is there anything else you can think of, or do you want to stick with those two?
I think I'd stick with those two.
Okay. So sitting down and having a talk, what would be like, what would you say in this talk that do you think you could be honest with them about how you're feeling?
I think I could be pretty honest. I may not say, because they already know I'm here. They don't know
Hmm.
about any of the therapy, but I think I'm just maybe tell them that they have too much workload on me, tell them how much I'm working, about my grade slipping, how I need more time, just to maybe have more time to do homework and a little bit more time for happiness. Because I feel like happiness has a lot to do with my grade slipping and me just feeling miserable, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you feel miserable and you're overwhelmed and you're feeling a little unhappy. So that in turn is causing your grades to slip and your performance to slip. That's very understandable. Um, have you ever had like trouble in the past, like in childhood, like maybe standing up for yourself or telling them how you feel? I know a lot of the times the middle child is kind of like go with the flow or feels like their voice isn't heard or they don't even really put their opinion in. Is that something that you feel like kind of kind of describes you or throughout childhood?
Yeah, my brother had a guitar and he never played it whatsoever. And I wanted to learn how to play guitar. Every time I tried picking it up, he would say, "Oh, he wants to practice right then."
Mm.
And I had a little bit of money saved up. I'll buy my own musical book. I'm like, let me practice on his guitar. I told my parents, and they were fine with it until my brother said he wanted to use my book, and then my parents just gave it to him.
Yeah.
Took the book I paid for and gave it to him. Like, oh no, he's the one who wants it.
Yeah. So it seems like that's a little unfair, like taking away the things you want and giving them to him
Mhm.
just because he wanted it.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Like your wants and your needs are often overshadowed.
Mhm.
That can be very frustrating. And I'm sorry that you have to feel that way. But I think obviously you're very motivated, you're strong, you took the steps to come here. So it sounds to me like your school and like this problem, you're finally fed up with it and it's important to you that you kind of find a solution. Is that right?
Yes, I had some teachers come up to me and tell me that I need to seek some guidance or go to therapy because they can tell that my grades have started to tank. They
Okay.
told me I've seen more stress and they could tell from my writing that I'm very stressed.
Yeah. So your teachers are concerned about your performance.
Mhm.
Okay. I think a good starting point. What I mean, do you think maybe telling your family that there are a couple days out of the week, maybe 2. How often are you, like, coming home and doing chores?
Every night except Sunday.
Okay. So do you feel like maybe having another night or 2 or 3 nights a week where you didn't have to worry about, like, a very long list of chores may help your performance?
Most definitely. I feel like I could like maybe Friday and Saturday. Those would be perfect. Have like a 3-day vacation from chores
Yeah.
just to get all my schoolwork caught up because that's usually when everything's due nowadays. It's everything's due on Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
hmm So I
So
just
freeing
wanted
up that time would help you get back into school and feel like you're back on track.
it definitely would. I just need that extra free time.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you kinda know what the problem is or where the problem lies. I mean, it sounds like your family has always put a lot on you and kinda overlooked, like, your wants and your needs because you've been pretty easygoing, and it sounds like you haven't really, like, stuck up or stood your ground much in the past just to kinda let things flow better and give your other siblings what they want. Is that true? You think that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, I feel like I was pretty go with the flow. I'd take the punches and keep going. But I think it's really starting to wear and tear on me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're selfless, but that can only and being selfless is not a bad thing, but it can become harmful whenever your own goals and your mental health are starting to kind of decline because of it. So, do you think that this conversation, because you told me that maybe having Friday and Saturday and then maybe even Sunday off from homework or from chores and get to do your homework and having a sit down conversation with your family would help? Is this something that you think you're capable of doing?
I think I could do it. Just knowing that they're all there, so they can't really get mad or upset
Hmm.
or try putting the blame game. Because if I feel like because I went to my brother by himself before, this way I could talk to kind of him in front of everybody,
Yeah.
and they won't get too. He won't get aggressive or angry
Okay,
about
good.
it because other people are there.
So you feel like it'll be a more productive conversation and there won't be any aggression or anything because you do have other people around.
Mhm,
Okay,
I
great.
do.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds like kind of somewhat of a plan. And again, like what's best case scenario from this conversation?
Maybe getting 3 days off, or just maybe moving some of my chores off of me permanently, just making my load better so maybe I can get to bed at a decent time. Because
Yeah.
I'd love to get to bed at around 12 o'clock because I got to wake up at 6.
Yeah, you need your sleep. You've got a busy work schedule and just busy overall. You got a lot on your plate.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's worst case scenario having this conversation to you?
They take My parents take my brother's side, or he doesn't do the workload and they try throwing it back on me.
Okay. So again, worst case scenario is that your brother's side gets taken, which is pretty much a pattern that you've seen throughout your life, or he doesn't do what he's supposed to, which from what you told me is kind of a pattern too. So really best case scenario is you get a lot out of this, you get more time, and worst case scenario, things kind of stay the same. So having this conversation, really, there's nothing like bad that can come from it. Hopefully only good. But if it doesn't go as well, then you'll come back here next week and we'll brainstorm some new ideas. But it sounds like you're pretty confident in having this conversation and that it's something you want to try.
Yes, I feel pretty confident in this conversation. I feel a little bit better now that I've talked to you. I feel like I've gained a little bit more uh, pep in my step, willingness to talk to them.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's obvious you're strong, you have the strength to do it. It just seems like maybe you haven't really believed in yourself, and it just kind of took some talking through or someone to see those strengths for you to realize them because they've been there. I mean, you're working, doing chores, going to school. That's like superhuman stuff. It sounds awesome to me that you're able to do that. So just having you recognize that strength, I think that you having this conversation, well, even if it doesn't go perfectly how you plan, you'll still feel a little bit empowered and just kind of feel like you used your voice and hopefully get some of that confidence in yourself too.
Yes, I definitely feel like I can definitely do that because I do feel strong enough to do it. I just didn't have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I have the drive.
Good. I'm glad to hear you're feeling a little bit better. That's the goal. And throughout these next few sessions, we're just going to kind of keep on talking about this and then maybe brainstorming new things, just seeing how you feel. But next week, I want you to have this conversation whenever you feel like the time is right, no pressure. And if you do feel like there's not an opportunity where it just seemed right, that's fine too. I'm not pressuring you into anything. Like change is going to take time. But if you do see an opportunity to have this conversation, I want you to try to have it, do your best. And then we're going to revisit next week, like how things went with your family and if there were any changes. Does that sound good?
That sounds amazing.
Okay, awesome. So we'll do next week at the same time if that works for you.
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I appreciate everything that you shared with me today, Brandon, and I look forward to hearing about everything that happened next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.